Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for coming today to this wonderful facility. First time we've been to Northgate for a community budget presentation. My name is Scott Husengay. I'm the budget director for the city of Kansas City, Missouri. It will be my job to give you a brief overview of the fiscal year 2021 submitted budget. I'll try to make that very quick, and then we'll get our mayor and council to come up to the stage and begin the public comment portion. But again, thank you very much for coming. Thank you to the school for hosting us, and hope to get back here very soon. Wow, that escalated quickly. There we go. Okay, so fiscal year 2021. I can't believe we've come that way already. The total budget for the upcoming year, as proposed to the City Council, is about $1.7 billion. That is very close to where we were last year at this time, with just a few programmatic changes that I'll begin to. But what's driven that budget primarily is a very strong economy in the last several years, and that has primarily affected the city's earnings tax, which, as many of you know, that's a 1% on all earnings and profits in the city. That benefits our general fund that provides a lot of vital services, including and especially our public safety component, which is the biggest part of our budget. Public safety is the primary driver and the primary outcome of this proposed budget. It's proposed as the largest increase in the budget, about $16.8 million. The budget also includes, as I'm sure most of you have heard, a proposal to provide zero-fare transit to the city of Kansas City for the first time, which would be free bus service citywide throughout the city. The budget fully funds street sweeping and bike ped lane sweeping as well. That brings back that service as fully funded within our general fund. And it provides increased street maintenance for street overlay, pothole maintenance, which I know, of course, is a very large issue in the city at this time. Water sewer rate increases, we were continuing to see lower rate increases than in prior years. We're proposing 2% for water rates and 6.5% for our sewer rates to continue the overflow control program as part of our overall consent decree with the federal government for sewer rates. A few program highlights in the budget. Outside of that, the budget includes full funding for the city's new animal shelter, the Kansas City Campus for Animal Care out at Swope Park. It includes an increase of $6.3 million to provide continued recycling services for the city and to bring solid waste collection in-house starting May 1st. Solid waste will be a fully city-provided service to all residents of the city. And I mentioned street sweeping and bike lane petting already, bike sweeping already. That will again be fully funded in the budget. Other highlights include funding for the Convention Center Hotel that will start operations very soon, just in the next couple months, I believe in April. $500,000 for mental health initiatives as proposed by Mayor Lucas. And again, $4.8 million to kickstart our zero fare transit program in the city. Capital improvements, another huge issue citywide. Between that and public safety, the two top issues that we see over and over again in our resident surveys, in our citywide business plan. The capital improvements program consists of the general obligation bond program that voters approved here about 3 years ago now. It also includes our ongoing operational maintenance, primarily funded by the city's 1 cent for capital improvements. Those sources combined total over $1.2 billion over the next 5 years. The program includes the neighborhood programs as recommended by our PIAC, our Public Improvements Advisory Committee. It includes $17 million for street resurfacing, which is $7 million than we were just 2 years ago, so a 70% increase from where we were in the FY19 budget. And again, the budget will include the next 5 years of our Go KC bond program, which we're already in years 4 through 9 of our bond program. Talk just a couple minutes about our public safety. Public safety is the highest priority as adopted by the City Council in our citywide business plan. The police department is outlined as proposed in the upcoming budget would have a $10.7 million increase. That provides 10 additional police officers, that provides social workers, that provides new equipment for the police department again to continue and enhance their response and patrol operations. The fire department is also proposed for an increase of over $6.4 million. That's about a 3.5% increase overall. The budget would add 15 firefighters that the city council approved just about 2 months ago to match a federal grant to backfill fire station number 40 right up the road here on North Oak. And the one thing the budget does not include is new fleet and equipment for the fire department. There is a proposed increase to the fire sales tax of 1/4% in April that the voters will get to decide upon at the election, and that election will determine how the city funds and continues to fund its fire department and its equipment replacement moving forward. A little bit about the budget process itself. Legislatively, the city council received the submitted budget, let's see, I guess a week ago already, Thursday, February 13th. There will be several meetings, including an official public hearing at the city council level, specifically in the Finance, Governance, and Public Safety Committee, and there will be several committee meetings throughout the process. The city council will hear starting next week from the city departments on their individual budget proposals. So over the next really 5 to 6 weeks, there will be several hearings and meetings leading up to the final adoption, which will be on March 26th, as required in the city charter. It will be the fourth Thursday in March, as it always is. The city provides several opportunities, of course, for the public to provide input. This is the first of 3 citywide public hearings that we will host this year. So thank you once again for coming out. There are 2 more upcoming that you can see on the screen at Southeast Community Center next week, and one during the daytime at the Kansas City Health Department the following week. The city also provides several opportunities to engage online if you are unwilling or unable to come in person. One mechanism to do that is the city's open budget platform, and there's been a lot of use I've seen online with this week, so I thank everyone who is already engaged in our open budget platform. We call this the interactive version of our budget document. By going to open budget, the website is on your screen, or on this screen. You can see basically any level of budget detail you want to see, whether it's at the department level, at the line item level, at the fund level. It's click and play. You can get to any level you want. You can see what the proposed budget for fiscal year 21 is. You can see what the historical funding of that program has been for about the last 7 years. A lot of new information we've added this year, and it's getting a lot of hits, so we appreciate that. Finally, users can also interact with a platform we call Balancing Act. Balancing Act allows users to actually go into individual departments and programs, answer specific policy questions, and allows you the opportunity to present your own budget back to our office, which we will submit back to the council for final comment as well. So if you have specific areas that you'd like to see increased, Balancing Act is a way to do that. All this feedback goes right back to the council. As of yesterday, we had already had over 50, nearly 60 submissions just in the first week this was introduced. So if you're interested in that type of activity, please get your vote in, as it were, and we'll provide all the results to the council at the end of our process. So you can always find more information at kcmo.gov, the city's website, at KCMO online. The budget office also has its own individual websites and social media outlets. KCMO Budget we continue to provide budget outlets, budget facts of the day, various other information. So thank you very much for your attention so far. Thank you once again to the school for hosting. I welcome clear questions and comments at the end, and I think at that point I'll turn it over to the mayor and council. So thank you.
Well, good morning, everybody. As you can see from the nameplate, my name is Mayor Quinnaton Lucas. A small spelling issue for us, but that happens all the time. I'm going to start by asking my colleagues actually to introduce themselves. We'll start on my right with Councilwoman Hall.
Good morning. I'm Heather Hall. I'm your first district in-district councilwoman. Welcome to the Northland. We're so happy to have you. If you need any tours of any roads that people think go to nowhere, we'd be happy to take you on a tour of the Northland and show you where we are and what we have. So welcome, and we look forward to hearing your questions and answering them and finding out ways we can work together to make the budget work for the needs of all of you. Thank you.
Thank you also for coming. My name is Kevin O'Neill. I'm the first district at-large representative.
Dan Fowler, second district in-district representative, and after you get done with your tour of the first district with Councilwoman Hall, please join me for a tour of the second district. We'll be happy to have you over there as well.
It only takes about 2 minutes.
Spoken by someone who's never been over there.
Good morning, everyone. Melissa Robinson, 3rd District.
Catherine Shields, Chair of the Finance Committee and 4th District at Large.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Raina Park Shaw, 5th District, and we invite you to the 5th District as well.
Lee Barnes, Jr., 5th District at large.
Kevin McManus, Mayor Pro Tem 6th District.
Good morning, Ernest Rouse, Interim City Manager. Thank you for being here this morning.
So again, thank you to our friends at the North Kansas City School District for hosting us and for all of you for being here. Chairing this meeting will be, as she noted, our Finance, Governance, and Public Safety Committee Chair, Councilwoman Catherine Shields, who has served this city for some time, knows a lot about budgets, and she'll let you kind of know the process we're using from here. Councilwoman?
Well, good morning, everyone. It's good to see you here today. Basically, the purpose of this meeting is to hear from all of you. What you like about the budget, what you think is good that it's in there, what you think maybe shouldn't be in there, and then, of course, any suggestions you may have on areas that either needed to be funded in whole or added to. So without really any further ado, I'm going to start calling names. You all signed up, came in. Many of you indicated that you did want to speak. And I'm just going to start going down the names in the order that people signed up. So the first person is Lori Dameron, and I would like you to come forward, Lori.
Can I give you or is there city staff? I think they said I could. We'll get someone on city staff to pick those up for you. Thank you.
And then, do we have a place they're speaking from? Oh, there's I see, yeah. So, Lori, if you would just state your name again and your address, and then give us your comments.
Thank you so much. I want to thank you all for coming to the Northland. My name is Lori Dameron. My address is 4012 Northwest Claymont Drive, Kansas City, Missouri, 64116. I thought I'd begin today, it's Mardi Gras, with a quick quote from the mayor of Baton Rouge. He said, "The arts are the best insurance policy a city can take for itself." And that's what I'm here to talk to you about today. In your one-pager, you might have noticed that the arts don't even appear on the one-pager, and I want to talk to you about that. I've lived here over 30 years in the same house and raised my 4 children there in our community. I'm a longtime public school teacher. I teach here in the North Kansas City School District, so this is a very familiar place for me. My husband has owned his own business and at 2,500 homes, and he's been there over 30 years. So I'm asking you to consider the continued funding for important arts programs that are left out of the proposed budget. First, we, the citizens, worked very, very hard to get the Kansas City Film Commission reinstated. And that small incentive that you put in place when you look at the big budget made such a difference. In this beautiful city, we enticed filmmakers here. And I'm sorry to ask, does that mean 1 minute gone or? 1 minute left. Okay. Well, I'm going to talk quickly then. I put some notes in there. My daughter Morgan made her first movie here. She brought it to Kansas City from Los Angeles because of that film office. It was a wonderful experience. My daughter Natalie, she worked in the Office of Culture and Creative Services with those 2 incredible ladies that are powerhouses. And to see them on the cutting block, when they brought so many arts programs here, they might have had a few bumps in the roads. They were new at this. But what I did see is they brought diversity. You saw art programs in the Northland you never saw before. You saw arts programs in the inner city, which you never saw before. It's because of those two powerhouse ladies. Consuelo Cruz, man, I'd put her in any job because she is a powerhouse. And it's the arts that I speak to you about. I implore you to restore these two programs, save the arts.
Thank you very much. Next, Tim Johnston, and then Sarah Sentmere, and Stephanie Seeger on the same line. So, Tim, you want to come up, and then Sarah and Stephanie be kind of ready. Good morning.
Good morning to you. Good morning to everybody here in the audience. My name is Tim Johnston. I'm a Briarcliff resident for 35 years. I'm also a North Oak TIF Commission committee member, and I am chairperson of the North Oak Focus Group. I'm here today to talk to you about the reconstruction of North Oak project, specifically from Briarcliff Parkway to Vivian Road. Last year in February, KCMO Public Works came to our focus group and told us that that project would be done in 2019. A few months later, we found out that was not going to happen. I then talked to Troy Schulte, and he said, Tim, it's going to happen this year, 2020. I'm sorry we had to push it back. This year's budget came out. It's now pushed back to 22, 23. That's not what we want to have here, and that's not what we want to have happen. North Oak is the gateway to the Northland, and it should reflect that. Since 2001, we've had 6 studies, reports that have been done on North Oak, all of which I have been involved with. And last summer, Councilman Bunch and Councilwoman Shields asked me to represent them on the most recent North Oak Corridor Complete Streets study, which we've completed that. All these plans have the same conclusion. Our North Oak traffic way from Briarcliff Parkway to Vivian Road is below substandard. And there's no curbs, no sidewalks. This project is a high priority for all residents in the Northland. Again, it is our gateway. We would ask that the project be moved up to this year, or to the very least to next year, not wait till 22, 23. It is a shovel-ready project right now. Let's get it done. Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah Sentmore. Sarah?
Hi, my name is Sarah Sentmore, address 2401 Gillum Road, and I'm here representing Children's Mercy. So first, I would like to make 3 basic points. The Kansas City Health Levy was approved by voters to provide funding for safety net providers, including Children's Mercy. Second, Children's Mercy is the community's leading provider and advocate for the health and well-being of Kansas City's children, and we have worked to preserve a robust partnership with the city. And finally, this $500,000, 75% reduction in our funding does not project that the long-standing collaborative partnership that Children's Mercy has with the city is being recognized as a valuable asset to the community. All other safety net providers rely on Children's Mercy to provide care to higher acuity, more complex, and therefore more costly patients. In addition to the uncompensated care, Children's Mercy provides at least $4 million in community health services that benefit Kansas City, Missouri children and families through multiple programs addressing violence, housing, mental health, parental support, and access to care. We would like our longstanding collaborative partnership that Children's Mercy has with the city to be recognized as a valuable asset for the community. Some of the programs that we are investing in our community include the Safety Care and Nurturing Clinic, which provides exams and treatments for abused and neglected children, and trauma-informed therapies for over 1,200 Kansas City, Missouri families annually. Our Healthy Families Children's Mercy program is a home visiting program for parents facing challenges such as single parenthood, low income, childhood history of abuse, and other childhood experiences with 1,100 visits annually. And so some of these projects really supplement some of the priorities of the city as we are looking to invest in our community, and removing funds for these efforts goes against shared priorities we all share for our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Stephanie Seeger. Is Stephanie? Okay, great. Paul Tyler, and then Jeff Zamblin. So Paul, would you come up? Yep.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name's Paul Tyler. I'm here to speak on behalf of the arts. I will try to go as fast as I can, but I have to say, for those of us who have speech challenges, a 2-minute period goes by very, very quickly. I will be brief, though. I want to quote another mayor, Mayor Q. I think you had it right when you said that Kansas City without the arts is like barbecue without the sauce. So, as you hear from many, many arts supporters over the next few weeks of engagement with the public, please remember, we need the sauce. Save the sauce. It's really, really important. I'm also here today to speak on behalf of many, many arts lovers and supporters who won't have the chance to be here or are too bashfully up in public like me. I'm not bashful anymore. So I'd like to ask any of you who are here today who love and support the arts and community and want to boast your support for the programs that are being taught by this budget, would you either stand or raise your hand? My friends are here. We want you to listen to us. I have one more thing I want you to remember. Do we have time to run WASP? Do we have time to run WASP? Do we have time to think about what we're doing and plan and talk to you about how the arts can help you with so many of the wonderful priorities that Mayor Q and the rest of you have outlined in this budget? Things like public safety, things like community well-being,
Thank you.
things like tourism.
Thank you.
Save the sauce. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeff Tamblin. Jeff Tamblin, is he here?
Mistake, ma'am. I just put a little cross through there.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Okay. Brandley J. Thomas.
Good morning, Council. Good morning, Mayor. My name is Bradley J. Thomas. I'm a local actor and theater production assistant. And I just want to say and pretty much echo everyone that will probably come up to this microphone and say, please save the arts. It is imperative that we continue on with what we've been building in this city for at least the past 13 years that I've lived here. I love Kansas City. I love everything about it. But the one thing that lacks sometimes is the support of the things that we absolutely need to be people, not just human beings on the sphere, but the people that we are in this town. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Brian Morgan, maybe? Sorry, beautiful handwriting, but I can't quite make it out.
Hello, my name is Brian Mangan, Mangan Productions. I started my career as a art director, location person in Kansas City. Let's see, I'm 29. At 29, it was 5 years ago, I think. No, seriously, I've been doing it for 26 years in Kansas City, and I support this city through and throughout. My wife and I started Exposure Model and Talent 26 years in Missouri. But I was responsible also for getting American Ninja Warrior here. I was also a proponent for Queer Eye to come to town, and the Dixie Plate with you, Quentin. It was, but I got a letter from one of the executives for Queer Eye I'd love to read for you guys. To the City Council and Mayor's Office of Kansas City, my name is Jeffrey Lynn. I am an executive in charge of production at the ITV America. I'm also a native of Kansas City. The company I work for, ITV, is the largest unscripted production company in the nation. We produce a variety of shows including Pawn Stars, Real Housewives of New Jersey, First 48, Queer Eye, to name a few. I'm writing you today as I received word that the Mayor's Office and the City Council are considering a budget that would cut the funding for Kansas City Film and Kansas City Film incentives. I believe this is a great error on judgment, and I ask that you not only keep these invaluable programs, but also consider expanding them. As a producer of countless TV shows, I'm always looking for cities and state film incentives as well a well-staffed TV and film office in support to potentially projects across the globe. North American cities such as Atlanta, Vancouver, New Orleans have found great economic success as a result of the film and television incentives, and are, or have, during the time of the incentive programs, considered industrial towns. Is that it?
That's it. Thank you so much.
Okay, well,
Katie Danner. Katie, when you come for, is Katie Danner? When I call your name, it helps if you can kind of be ready. It's good to see you, though. And Katie, can you give your name and again your address, please?
Katie Steele Danner and 5231 North Antioch. By way of background, I'm a graduate of the North Kansas City School District, Eastgate.
Hey.
And also by way of background, in January, I moved a 31-year-old women's leadership organization from Columbia, Missouri to North Antioch, Kansas City, Missouri, so you're welcome. I'm here to speak on behalf of economic development for the city of Kansas City. When I served as the director for the Missouri Division of Tourism, we faced a cut of about $10 million in funding. We had a $21 million budget, went down to about $11 million. And yet we found the funds to be able to fund the Missouri Film Office because we are consumers within the tourism industry of that product. And if we don't maintain the economic development viability to keep these individuals in the industry employed, they will move elsewhere because they need to feed their families. So when it comes time to film commercials, when it comes time to have NFL live in the Kansas City area, et cetera, if we don't have those professionals here that can provide that product, we will miss out, and we will miss that economic development opportunity. If any of you have ever watched a movie, at the conclusion of the movie, there is a rolling list of all of the people who worked on that particular project. Watch that and understand the economic development opportunity of film. Thank you.
Thank you. George Sluta. And again, Mr. Sluta, name and address, please.
George Sluter, born and raised in Kansas City, Missouri. Immediate past president of the Claymont North Homes Association and also a past president of the Home Builders Association. Last year in
Where do you live, Mr. Sluter?
Presently, I live in North Kansas City.
Okay.
Last year, the Kansas City Home Builders Association and other builders built over 675 single-family homes in Kansas City, Missouri, the largest of any city in the metropolitan area. I've asked the budget office, and they cannot provide me what that means as far as impact to your city budget. I think it's important that we know and realize the importance of what the home building industry is providing in Kansas City, Missouri. I'd like to know what the revenue to the city is from earnings tax, real estate tax, sales tax when we add a new home to Kansas City, Missouri. Thank you.
Thank you. Patricia Williams and then David Dunlap. Patricia's a no? Okay, David Dunlap? And again, Mr. Dunlap, name and address.
My name's Dave Dunlop. I live at 7231 North Lawn Avenue, Kansas City, Missouri, 64119.
Thank you.
I've got a lot to talk about, but since time is so short, I'll try to abbreviate. Some issues that concern me. as public safety. We talk about public safety all the time. We talk about roads all the time. In 1994, the Shoal Creek TIF was approved. Finally, in 2019, we built a fire station that was badly needed. Without a fire station in that area, it affected ambulance response times, where they struggled year after year after year to meet the 40% goal. I mean, to reach the goal, they only were able to reach it 40% or less in that period of time. I just heard a few weeks ago that talking about the Twin Bridges development. We've already built apartments and new homes for thousands of people in that area. And it was mentioned that a fire station would have to be built in the next 10 years. A fire station needs to be started now. There's not adequate coverage in that area. Response times are too long. And, you know, funding is always a problem. Every time we bring something up, it's funding. And that's probably true, but what it looks to me like is it's a choice by City Hall of where that funding is going to be spent. And currently, not very much of it is spent in the Northland. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next two people, Brian Mangan and then Keith Nelson. So Brian, you want to come up? Again,
You want me to speak again, or? I've already done it.
oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. No, Keith Nelson.
Good morning, I'm Keith Nelson. I live at 4543 North Bennington, KCMO 64117. I want to first echo what Mr. Johnston talked about at North Oak. In 1978, there was plans underway to make improvements to North Oak. In 2009, we did the Briarcliff-Wynwood area study plan, and once again, we made that a priority for improvements. What Tim didn't talk about is the deterioration that's occurred along North Oak because we didn't invest in revitalization. So we have a weaker quality of businesses there and a quantity of businesses there. So I'd like to see us spend some more emphasis on North Oak. The other thing is keeping up with the heritage here. I get up and complain about how the Northland doesn't get its fair share of the funding. The master plan for passing the GO bond was just outstanding. There was a little bit in there for everybody, so we'd vote for the plan. However, we've got issues north of the river, annexed in 1950. We've been waiting 70 years for some improvements. One of the problems that we have is no sidewalks to our school. I'm very proud of our TIF committee this year in putting in there $1 million worth of plans to build sidewalks to our school, something important. I passed around to you a picture of the buses. At 53rd Street, we have Maple Woods Elementary School, we have Maple Park Elementary School. There is not one improved street that reaches those schools. The picture I showed there is the situation of the North Kansas City School District. Dr. Clemens says that is the very schools that he looks at to determine whether we cancel classes or not. Thank you very much. I'd take somebody else's time if they want to relinquish it to me. We're going to be here till 11.
Wendy Pete Thompson, and then Gary Birch.
Good morning. I'm Wendy Thompson. I live at 5403 Northwest Edgewood Trail. And I'm actually here to speak, as some people already have, in support of the Film Office, Kansas City Film, and the Film Incentive. And I would urge you to support renewing that. I don't see it on the budget now. It is not only supporting artists who come in to make films, more importantly, it's just like the other lady said, it supports the jobs here for people that work in that industry. It is a small budget item, really, compared to many of your others, and the return on that investment is in the millions. So I would think it would really behoove all of us to think about attracting more film work here. It also supports the commercial film industry, people that make TV commercials, which is huge business, but they always have to bring in outside help. We certainly don't want to be losing the production people that live here now because they don't have that work available. So we need to keep attracting the work. Thank you.
Thank you. Gary Birch.
Gary Birch, 7820 North Walren, Kansas City. Mr. Mayor, council members, I appreciate this opportunity. And Ernest, I'm always representing. I'd like to speak on the public safety, specifically the fire sales tax that was passed. And it did have a sunset, and it got renewed a few years ago. One of my concerns, is the capital items. An aerial truck, $1.5 million. A pumper, $600,000. That and the fire stations, $5, $6, $7 million. I'm all for it. Okay. I know that on the first go around we were paying 135 positions salaries out of that, and that was part of it when we voted on it back then. So that if it doesn't ever pass on the sunset, we may have a problem there. My concern is that sometimes if we don't have if it's keeping the capital money for capital,
right,
and it doesn't always happen. And probably in other sales tax, parks, others, same thing happens. Before long, it gets pulled out. Let me give you a quick example. I just talked about the millions of dollars for the equipment. The fire department has the highest capital equipment of any department. Turnout gear, PP, I heard that mentioned, and I've got to have it. I understand that. $2,000, $2,500. That's not capital. That's not capital. So what I'm saying is that the sales taxes stick to capital stuff, and it doesn't get, and then you don't take the operating budget and move it into general services or other departments, and you got to keep it in there. And I'd like to see a specific plan of what it's going to be spent for. And I know the operating rolls doesn't roll over. I understand that. If you don't spend it, it goes away. I understand that. But the capital, I think, can on those funds, and it does. I understand that. You pass a specific sales tax and it frees up money for other things. I understand that. But that's my point. I'd like to see also a citizen oversight committee on those public safety sales tax. Thank you.
Thank you. Ed Ford.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Ed Ford, 700 Northeast 93rd Street. Having had the opportunity to work on 17 budgets over 16 years in good economic times, bad economic times, the only bit of advice I would pass on is what I received from George Blackwood, who was the mayor pro tem under Mayor Cleaver. And George said, you don't eat the corn seed. Now, that was back in '95 before Google. Yeah. So I wasn't quite sure what that meant. I asked Jeeves. Jeeves didn't know.
Yeah.
But I learned later that, you put the seed in the ground, the crops grow, you sell the crops, you have money. I am very concerned about the proposed budget cutting in half the EDC's budget. It's devastating cuts. I had chaired the finance committee of the EDC for the last 4 years, and there's no way they can withstand a cut like that. I just want to remind the mayor and council that every day the city competes for jobs, for workers, for capital. And so switch gears, put on my Northland Chamber cap. On behalf of our 750 businesses, labor unions, not-for-profits, government entities, we want to express our support for the Kansas City Athletic Complex, which includes $1 million for SWOPE. This will have no impact, on this year's budget, but it will have a very positive impact on future budgets. It's a transformational project. We're very excited about it. We'll be in Finance Committee on Wednesday to talk more, but we don't have many opportunities to address the entire council and mayor. So thank you.
Thank you. Courtney Watchell, followed by Adam.
I was a no.
No, she's the judge.
Oh, sorry. They highlighted it by mistake. Adam
Adam Roberts.
Roberts.
Adam Roberts, 810 East 24th. I'm here to talk about the film incentive in the film office. It's $175,000 annually every year. Each year it brings in about $10 million in revenue. I can break that down really quick for you. For every dollar the city gives to the film fund, 56 is returned to the city. Now, I'm not sure how many of these programs on the budget actually return money to the city, but this is one. It creates jobs, it creates growth. I also own a small business called Screenland Theaters. We're one of the only independent theaters in the entire city. Now, half of my job is showing and supporting love for our Kansas City film community, whether it's a film that was made here or with crew made and that live here and work here. It's an important incentive. I can't stress how much the film office, I travel the country, I go to a lot of other cities and film festivals and theaters, and to see our film office in a big place like Sundance representing Kansas City, getting people to support our film program here is enormous. It's actually very, very incredible to see them there in a place like South by Southwest in Austin on some of the biggest stages. There's not a lot of other cities there, and you have staff really supporting and saying, we have everything you need in Kansas City. We have a film incentive, and that tiny bit of money really is important to bring productions like Queer Eye here that puts a spotlight on Kansas City, and that all affects travel and tourism, which brings more and more money. Again, this is only more revenue for the city. I don't know why it would be on the cutting block when it's generating more revenue. Over the last 7 years, it's brought in $51 million, and again, it only costs $175,000 a year to the city's budget. So please reconsider, and let's save the sauce. Thank you.
Next will be Michael Martin and then Andrew Zimmerman.
Michael Martin, I'm in 3rd District at 2101 Vine Street. I grew up on Independence and Hardesty in Northeast Kansas City. My business is registered on Genesee in the West Bottom, so I've been here my whole life. I don't have a hard job here because there's been so many great people talking about the film incentive. I am a small business owner, and the thing I can speak to that hasn't been spoken about yet is when people hear about there's people hiring crews and keeping people in production working, I'm one of those people. I started a company 2 years ago from nothing. I'm literally the American bootstrap story. My family, my mom's a school teacher of 35 years, just retired. My dad's a factory worker. I started from nothing, and now I have a business that generates somewhere between $300,000 and $400,000 of revenue a year. I live in the city. My business is in the city. I don't take a dime out of that film incentive, but it keeps my crews here. If you've ever worked with me and you're here, could you raise your hand? These are all people that I've hired and kept money with their families, and I'd like to continue to do that. To reiterate what Adam said, because I think it bears repeating, $175,000 it's an easy job. That's not a huge cut. That's not a lot of money for you guys to find, so I feel very thankful that that's all the more I have to argue for, and it generates $10 million a year. And something like this brings some optics to an area that may be cut simply just because we don't know about it as a city. So thank you for bringing this budget to the city's attention, to your attention. One thing I want to summarize out of Brian's note that got left out is the insiders in the industry know that productions from LA and New York are starting to move to small outside communities because it's cheaper. And We're not there yet, but when we get there eventually with funding from the state and from maybe the federal government that gives us other tax incentives, we will bring those giant productions here. And if we start cutting this now, someone else down the road will have an incentive, and that business will go to those other cities. I'd like to see it stay here. Save the sauce. Thank you.
Thank you. Andrew Zimmerman.
Andrew Zimmerman, 4804 Jarbo, 64112. I'm speaking as the proud president of the SAG-AFTRA Missouri Valley Local. For those of you that don't know, SAG-AFTRA represents actors all across the country, including many right here in Kansas City. This proposed budget cut to the KC Film Office and KC Film Development Program affects the jobs and livelihood of these members. And not only them, Kansas City has close to 800 professional crew and service companies that will lose work with this budget cut. The KC Film Office and their incentives are used to create thousands of job opportunities for Kansas Cityans. This is a program that has been proven to work. Once again, with a budget of only $175,000, we see a return to our city of $10 million annually. This is something we should be proud of. We should be celebrating this. Because of this budget money, we were able to land the 2023 NFL Draft. And here's why. One of the first questions the NFL asked when scouting draft locations was, who has a local film incentive? Last year, the NFL Draft in Nashville brought in $224 million to their local economy. When the next big event asks if we have a local film incentive, what are we going to say? Is this money we want our city to lose out on because we trimmed the wrong part of our budget? Let's continue to find and fund successful programs in Kansas City, such as the KC Film Office and the KC Film Development Program. Thank you.
Thank you. Annie Gachette, and then Michael Duffy.
Hi, thanks. Thanks, all of you. I'm Ann Gachet. I live at 8000 Northwest Waukomis Drive, 64151, Casey Mo. I'd like to talk to you about cultural services. It would appear to me that there is a lack of understanding of what cultural services are. I cannot imagine otherwise how they could be, how the Office of Cultural Services could be cut from the budget, and such important programs as people have been speaking about could have been cut as well. Culture sauce is extremely important, but culture is not an add-on. Cultural services are the passageway from the stuff around us, the streets, the cops, the friends, the houses, all the stuff. They are the passageway from that to what it might become. They are the space of imagination. They are the space of collective experience. And I hope that our city government is not telling us that it has lost its imagination. I was born in Gladstone, raised in the Northland. My grandparents founded the first community theater in the area, and I was raised in an arts family. My grandparents did not leave me any money to inherit, and although their name is on the theater at Park University, they died with almost nothing. They did not receive funding from the outside. They simply brought black, white, old, young, disabled, LGBTQIA individuals to Parkville for theater, dance, art, because they believed in community transformation. And I came back and studied at the Block School so that I came back from New York to study at the Block School so that I could be a part of Kansas City's cultural vitality.
Michael Duffy, and then, on this page? William Hera.
Good morning. Michael Duffy, 4202 Roanoke Road. I'm here representing Legal Aid of Western Missouri. Legal Aid has been a partner with the city for more than 45 years, providing indigent legal services in Kansas City. We particularly, with the city's partnership, focus on two areas. One is representing indigent defendants in municipal court. a constitutional requirement by the city. And secondly, we provide representation to distressed neighborhoods, neighborhood groups, neighborhood associations throughout all areas of the city, from north of the river down to Ruskin, east and west. The current budget provides flat line funding for us. That does not cover cost of living increases. We were anticipating, in fact, there's a 5-year agreement with regard to municipal services for a 2% cost of living increase that was cut out of this proposed budget. On behalf of the neighborhood groups and the indigent defendants that we serve, we ask you to please reconsider that and at least cover the costs of providing these services. The neighborhood groups in particular, I'm sure you're all familiar with the distressed conditions of the neighborhoods. This is a very cost-effective service to try to restore the integrity of these neighborhoods, to preserve affordable housing, to prevent the vacant homes from overriding neighborhood concerns for safety. These neighborhood groups are concerned about crime. Vacant houses are incubators of crime. This is a very useful service for these neighborhoods, and we ask you to please continue the historic support that the city has given for this service. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Duffy. William Hara, and then Ez Redwood.
How you guys doing? William Hara, address 423 Lawn Avenue, zip code 64124, Northeast Kansas City. I'm here to show my support for the Kansas City Film Commission and their budget. Being a filmmaker and a small business owner myself, just generally I would just like to grow in Kansas City and grow with my colleagues and just make beautiful art. And I think the sentiment is heavy with that, considering we got about 1,000 people to sign a petition in less than 24 hours on change.org about the whole issue. I think that's great.
Yeah, congratulations.
And basically for me, personally, I would like to stay in Kansas City to grow in my craft and do what I do, instead of moving to bigger markets and things like that. And I would like to see certain projects based in Missouri and Kansas City actually filmed in said location. So basically, just keep that in mind in your budgets and save the sauce.
Thank you. Mr. Redwood. Ez Redwood. There we come.
By show of hands, who here either has worked for a small business or has a family member that works for a small business? Right? And my people aren't here yet. I'm Ezzy Redwood, and I want to make the point that small businesses...
Mr. Redwood, could you tell us your address?
Sure, 4307 Walnut, although we have restaurants in Northland and in Central City. And also, considering this is filmed and live, I'd encourage reconsidering that format of saying your address for the world to see. Unless you want to stalk me, feel free. But what we see are corporations who lay people off silently, and then they hire people publicly. And yet we have people here who are building small businesses, and yet we do not support them. And as someone who runs the largest entrepreneurship small business organization in the city, we feel abandoned. We feel like people use our sales taxes, they use our earnings taxes, and they distribute it to everyone else. And then when it comes time to support the people who support the city, that love's not there. The love's not there. We're eating the seeds. And so from our perspective, it spread a wave of anger. And to help contextualize the $250,000 that's being sent to support us, we pay the city, not the county, not the state, the city, $100,000 a year for us, my and my brother's small business, $100,000. And you multiply that out, and yet there's no one there supporting us, the job creators, the people who are employing 60% of the net new jobs in the city, who are bringing a lot of that revenue that's then getting spent. And so I encourage you all, as you look at how to allocate money to continue to build the tax revenues, to look at the small business community, because the anger is building, and I'm here as a liaison to kind of help everyone work together, but it's spreading quickly. Thank you.
Thank you. Anita Gorman. And then Alexis Webb Bechtold. So Anita.
thank you. I want to thank you for supporting Starlight Theater. This is an organization that will be 70 years old next year. In 1951, after we had celebrated the centennial in 1950 and built the structure, in 1951, and it won't surprise you that I was there, we promised that every Broadway show would have 343 free tickets for people who could not afford to go otherwise. And we give those tickets out to things like the Salvation Army and to Boy Scouts and things that would give them to the proper people. Even when we're sold out and people that have paid good money are sitting in the grass, we still give those tickets out. And that's a 69-year effect. So I want to thank you for supporting the Starlight Theater, because as you know, we have to raise other money. And the first question a major donor asks is, it's a city function, has the city supported you? And we can say yes. On another matter altogether, I have the feeling the earnings tax election must be coming up pretty quickly.
Next
And I
year.
presume that you're working on that. Best wishes. Thank you.
Thank you. So then Alexis Webb Bechtold. And
She
after.
didn't say her address, we were just trying to be fair. My name's Alexis Webb Bechtold, and I live in 64154. And for the past 7 years, I've been involved with the City of Fountains Foundation, including numerous other organizations in the arts. And I have served as an arts tour guide, a public educator for the arts, and an advocate for the arts. I've always emphasized that the reason we are able to celebrate the arts here in Kansas City is because of people in your position who have looked to the future and put funding behind it so that they can create a legacy and a beautification for our city so that we can celebrate it in the future. So I beg you to reconsider cutting funding for the arts in Kansas City at this time, because your legacy is what's going to show later and what we will be not talking about in the future. So save the sauce. Thank you.
Yeah. Janae Nanke, and then Dennis follows.
Hi, I'm Janae Manley. My address is 4430 North Olive Street, 64116. And I actually used to walk to school here, so that's really cool. As you guys know, we passed the Tenant Bill of Rights. Thank you for your support on that. But I wanted to address something. It's the Tenant Bill of Rights resolution concludes with the statement: to fully guarantee rights and protections, the mayor and city council commit to passing legislation to establish an adequately funded Department of Housing and Community Development in Kansas City. The division will be a permanent voice for residents within the city and place leadership closer to the communities in the city. So funding the Office of the Advocate will have a greater impact on a larger portion of the city and its citizens. 46 to 48% of citizens are renters. Funding the office will keep families healthy, and healthy children do better at school. Healthy parents perform better at work. We are looking to the mayor, city council, and city hall staff to show their leadership and make good on this commitment. We cannot keep passing unfunded mandates. Tenants like me need a functioning enforcement system to make sure that our rights are protected. Thanks.
Thank you. And then Dennis follows. And after him, Anna Joy Wallen, it looks like.
Good morning. How is everyone?
Dennis Fallon, Kansas City resident, live on the plaza. Is that okay?
I guess. I never knew people were so afraid to say where they live, but, you know.
It's on film. So 4541 Washington Street.
Okay.
64111. I'm here today to represent the Kansas City Film Incentive, try to save the sauce. As a major motion picture producer, director for many years, made several major motion pictures, made 4 of them here. The reason why they were made here is because of state tax incentives, which we took advantage of.
Yeah.
Haven't made a film here in a few years because of the tax incentives went away. But when the tax incentives were brought back small in the Kansas City area, we're in development right now of a television series that we were looking seriously at bringing here. Trying to decide on that, been working with the office because of the tax incentives. As a producer, you're always looking, how can I position my project based on the budget in the areas. We've employed hundreds and hundreds of people in this area, brought millions of dollars to this community, and tax incentives have been taken away. But right now, not only do you need to save the sauce, you need to add a lot more to the sauce. I'm telling you, we lose massive opportunity in the state of Missouri when we have film crews and incredible talent in this area that we've been part of helping facilitate, that people try to come in here, but they can't because of the tax incentives. So please do not take this away. It's crucial to this film industry in this area. Also, you need to reconsider and look at how much more can we add to it, because it'll bring millions and millions of dollars to this community. Thank you.
Thank you. Anna Joy Wallen.
Oh,
what?
No? Okay.
Okay. Andrew Erdich. Great. And then after him will be Mark Tolbert.
Good morning. I'm here, of course, to talk about the arts, particularly the Office of Creative and Cultural Services. For everyone at home and in the audience, I'm on the kcmo.gov website. If you go to the department, city manager's office, there's the Office of Culture and Creative Services. Scroll down and you can see the programs that they do. They have a lot of small loan micro grants for local artists. The Neighborhood Tourist Development Fund, the Film Development Program, of course, which we've heard a lot about. Open spaces, I'm not going to talk about that. By the way, that was a mayoral incentive. That was something the mayor wanted to do. That wasn't really their thing. You know, when you work for the city, you have to jump when the mayor says jump, all right? So that's not...
Now you know.
Yeah. City employees just got to do what you all say, so that's how it goes. But I want to go down to the studies part. There is an American for the Arts study. It's called the Arts and Economic Prosperity 5 study. This came out in 2017. And it says for the Kansas City area that in 2015 there were 244.2 million in total economic activity, or 88% of the economic impact for the entire Kansas City region, which they relate to the arts. Generates 220.8 million in household income to local residents, contributes 84% of the region's nonprofit arts and cultural sector employment, supporting 7,515 full-time equivalent jobs. In addition, 7,616 volunteers donated a total of 346,465 hours. Delivers 7.9 million in local government revenue and 10.9 million in state revenue. Also, tourists attending arts and cultural events in Kansas City, Missouri spent an average of $31.18 per person. This compares to $21.74 per person for the average resident spent. So I'd just like to point out the facts that are on your city's website, the stuff that you put out there for us to see, and consider those facts. Thank you.
Thank you. Mark Tolbert.
Good morning. I
Good
don't
morning.
envy any of you all. I live at 7900 East 83rd Street, Kansas City, Missouri. I am on the Police Commission Board, as well as the Board of Lee Tolbert Community Academy Charter School. I want to talk about the DARE program inside the police budget. I understand it's on the chopping block, and I'd like to see that their budget not only stay the same, but add it a little bit to it. And then as we talk about prevention, the Boys and Girls Club has a very good program, and there were some dollars extended to do a program with the Boys and Girls Club. I would like to see that budget upped, because that is an ounce of prevention. And if we can put more money in prevention, doing neighborhood programs and things with our young folks, it'll help save some on the back end. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Evie Craig. And after Evie will be Joe Carey. Sure.
Good morning. My name is Evie Craig, and I am Executive Director of the Arts Asylum and President of the Paseo West Neighborhood Association. The Arts Asylum is at 1000 East 9th Street, and the Paseo West Neighborhood Association is one of the outstanding historic neighborhoods in the amazing 3rd District Council. Shout out, Melissa. So thank you very much for this opportunity. Sorry, there was a fully grown person here before me. And I think everybody in this room knows how difficult this process is. We at the Arts Asylum are happy for support of free transit, affordable and equitable housing opportunities, and public safety. These are all issues that are important to artists and audiences, as well as to the residents and businesses in Paseo West Neighborhood Association. The Asylum is very proud to be one of the partners in the recently completed Pendleton Arts Block, which is an incredible example of using arts to drive community development. But we found ourselves stunned at 3 proposed cuts to vital arts organizations in the budget. Cuts to Arts Tech, a long-respected agency that works with youth who have been in the juvenile justice system, takes them off the streets and puts them on the paths to finding their own creativity and arts entrepreneurship. If you haven't been to their gift shop, you are missing something. Film and TV is an industry that thrives on early support. If support that's cut now will hurt us in the future. We were very proud that our iconic bell tower, from which the Mutual Musicians Foundation broadcasts our local jazz station, was featured in the opening shot of Queer Eye. We'd hate to see those things go away. The town that won the Super Bowl can win international film and TV contracts, but not without adequate support. And finally, as someone who has applied and received NTDF contracts for over 10 years, I can say that under the OCCS leadership, the process has been dramatically improved over the past few years. More collaboration, a more professional grant process, and reporting process. The office was also responsible for landing a highly competitive Our Town grant from the NEA that was part of the amazing transformation happening in the West Bottoms. And I just have to say, a grant from them and support from that office helped us to attract 1,680 ticket buyers to our recent production of Jesus Christ Superstar. I have to share with you, 83% of those were from outside Kansas City, Missouri. Nearly 10% were from outside the region. People are coming to 9th to see great theater and great art at 9th and Harrison, not only because it's safe, not only because there's no potholes, but because of the art. Sorry, save the sauce.
Okay. Joe Carey. And then Andy Izzarello.
I'm taller than her.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Joe Carey. I'm here to throw my voice along with all the other film incentive people. There's been a lot of good points brought up. For instance, the only costs $175,000 a year, and it brings in $10 million in revenue. But I just wanted to give a little anecdote that kind of shows what we're talking about. In 2018, Hulu was making a pilot for a TV show called Kansas City. It was filmed in Atlanta because the incentive in Atlanta was so much better than the incentive here in Kansas City. I don't know if it ever got picked up, but also Ozark, a hit Netflix TV show, takes place in Missouri in the Ozarks, filmed in Atlanta. We are losing so much business and so much exposure for our city to cities like Atlanta who have a decent film incentive. So while we shouldn't be cutting the 175,000, we should be adding to it to encourage more and more productions to be filming here, because we are an awesome city and we deserve to be more than just an establishing shot of a skyline and then nothing else that includes our city. Kept it getting short. Thanks. Save the sauce.
Thank you. Andy Inzarello.
My name is Andy Inzarello. Oh, Lord. Old age is a hard thing. I live at 4641 Northeast Gladstone Avenue. I don't know, I think you people are missing a point. Kansas City has a lot of bragging rights. We should be bragging that we're the only city in the whole United States that doesn't have control of our police department. It's been said, if we control our police department, we can save $1 million in just insurance premiums alone. So that's something you can brag about. Here's another thing you can brag about. We citizens of Kansas City pay more taxes than anybody else in the metropolitan area. We have the highest paid workforce in the metropolitan area. And we've got a pension system private enterprise can't afford. We got a, the combined benefit program. All entities have gone to 401ks or 401s, but not Kansas City. Our pension system is so outmoded that Major Cleaver gets $2,000 a year from our pension, and he technically wasn't an employee, just like all of you people are elected. You're not employees. Here's another thing you can brag about. We're the only city in the whole state of Missouri that has $1 million governing body. The last council meeting, the last thing they did was raise the council people $4,700. It wasn't on the agenda, it was sneak through. And you people that are on this board now, you probably voted for it. Our mayor got a $16,000 raise. And that's a governing body of $1 million if you do the arithmetic. Now, this is something else I got to say.
Make it quick, your time's up. And
Well, I'm 96 years old, so I don't know how much time I got.
About another 15 seconds to speak.
As I said, I'm 96 years old, and I'm a lifelong resident of Kansas City.
Yes, you are.
I've been here when Pendergast was in power, and that's how the police department lost control of the state. But you people haven't got the guts to take control back. But what I want to talk about is something that's very near to me, and that's discrimination. In my youth, in 1935, 36, 37, I went out looking for a job. At that time, discrimination was acceptable. Companies would hire, this company don't hire Irishmen, this company didn't hire
Mr.
Polacks.
Inzarello, I mean, really, your time's up.
I don't care whether your time is up, my time is not up. And then this company didn't hire Italians. This company didn't hire Negroes. And I'm very sensitive to that. And in the course of my looking for a job, the people are very cruel, very humiliating to me. I heard all the disparaging remarks relative to my Italian heritage. And to say that I'm humiliated is a great understatement. When I went to City Hall, I went to one department, I never saw one white person there working. I go downstairs, another department, never saw one white person there.
Mr. Inzarello, your life is very interesting. I have been on this council off and on since 1987. You always come, you always say the same things.
I never have said the same thing. Don't you insult me that way.
Please go on to the next person, Deb Herman.
I never said the same things. All I said was I'm disappointed that this city.
Is Deb
is-
Herman here?
Yes, Deb Herman is here, I don't care. But I want to
Well,
say this.
we understand
I
that.
said the city should get away from this discrimination of hiring only black people.
Oh, okay. I wondered when we were going to get to that.
That's what you're going to get to.
Thank you, Mr.
And
Inzarella.
I hope you enjoy the raise that you voted for.
Thank you, Mr. Inzarella. Deb Herman.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to the Northland.
Thank you.
My name is Deb Herman. I live at 7728 Northeast 51st Terrace, 64119. Also with Northland Neighborhoods, the only community development corporation in the Northland. First of all, I want to thank you. All of you, I know for years, even in very tough times, pay special consideration to our neighborhoods. Those programs for cleanups, those programs for dangerous buildings, neighborhood preservation, organizations do work like Northland Neighborhood does. And I got to give a shout out to our Northland representatives. They are there for us, and they're there for our neighborhoods. Thank you for that, and also thank you for what you do. I think that you know as well as I that the Northland is the source of new revenue in the most part, of new development. But I think you all know too that we have a large area of the Northland that is still on still on septic tanks, that we did a study a while back, and if you're on 48th Street, you can't get transit to health care that gets you there the same day. I'm not complaining or asking for anything in particular. I just ask for you to continue the work that you do, continue to listen to us, and incrementally make those changes that make the whole city a better place to be. And again, thank you.
Thank you. That is the end of individuals who signed up to give testimony. If there's anyone else who would like to give testimony this morning on this budget, please come forward to the mic and identify yourself and
Have them line up.
yeah, maybe you just want to line up and then we can maybe go quickly. If there's, we're going to be here. We want to hear what you have to say.
I'm Susan Brune, and I live at 3920 Clark Street. I'm here on a couple of things. First, a couple of minor things that were mentioned in the budget. Roads. I'm from Iowa originally. I drive a lot in Kansas because I try to avoid Missouri roads. So I think not only repairing them, you need to look at the formula in which you're making these roads in. And I don't think you need to follow the state of Missouri roads because they're just as bad when you compare them, and especially. So, but they're great arteries to the great arts and the great businesses that Kansas City has. And why you want to kind of cut off your leg by cutting programs that create revenue for the city is confusing because these are programs that pay taxes, and I can speak for I have a nonprofit called Gilded, which we help art entrepreneurs. So to cut Casey's Source Link and to cut the film incentives, and I know filmmakers who actually are making blockbuster films. They live here in Kansas City. They've worked in LA. They live here in Kansas City, and they work in other cities because there's just not enough film incentives to bring those big blockbusters here. So if you're cutting film incentives, you're actually cutting production in an area at a time where you should be adding, and because you have the ability to track big blockbuster films, and it's not happening and we do have this crew here to do that, but they're going other places. And so to keep them from going other places, we should be adding to that program and not blocking it. So keep this off. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Anita McWilliams from Wynwood Sunnybrook, and this is a nightmare for me to be up here. But I want to thank everybody from the film people. You guys are great for your support, but we've got some issues up north of the river. where we need more firemen, we need more policemen. Our parks aren't done, our roads aren't properly sidewalked. We've got kids walking in ditches and things like that. So I really would like you to take a look and pay attention to us up north, if you would, please. Thank you.
Okay.
Hello, I'm Janet Moss Awaken, and I don't do any art in this city. I try to make my life my art, but I don't have any stake in what this, except as a patron and all the people who have spoken. I've been to all those things. I live in Midtown, Kansas City. And so this is how I've benefited. As a person who doesn't have enough money, I have enough money, but I don't have enough to go to Sprint Center for my entertainment, whatever. These community art people are our social life. And we have done this for 20 some years. So think about that kind of support also. And I've watched so joyfully in the past 10 to 15 years, Kansas City worked so hard to bring the arts visible and available to many different people who can't get the expensive kinds of things. And so it seemed really sad to me that it would be cut, and after we've worked so hard, because we are in national magazines. We have family in San Diego, in California, who see Kansas City's art scene in magazines and articles they read. And it seems to me that it would be a real sad thing that we now would be known for going backwards.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Good morning. My name is Aaron Deacon, 111 West Bain Street, 64105. I'm here on behalf of KC Digital Drive. We're a civic tech nonprofit organization that was started in collaboration with the city. In the 6 years that we've been around, we've worked really closely on technology and innovation issues, and it's encouraging to see innovation and data-driven decision-making technology really baked into the mission statement, kind of at the front of the budget of how the city wants to go about its work. However, it's striking that it doesn't appear on the org chart and doesn't appear on sort of the department structure. And so I think the first request I would make is that the city think about how to arrange its investments in technology, small business, digital inclusion and equity issues in a way, first of all, on the one hand, you've got this spread across departments, got to be baked into the organization, and I think that's why probably the org chart looks like it does. At the same time, what that also leads to is a bunch of one-off investments that the city makes that may or may not be connected in a strategic way. And so you've seen, I think, a result of a lot of programs maybe that have gotten cut because we haven't fully realized the impact of how those could be leveraged. And that's part of the value that we try to provide, but there's other organizations like KC SourceLink that do a similar thing, and I think it's worth making that investment in the collaboration. What we really do is try to drive those technology investments towards solving the city's problem. It is not an end in itself, but we've created companies that help to address the homeless situation. There's one that's in the city's IPP, Innovation Partnership Program right now, that came out of one of our initiatives. We've created websites for the city health department that address sexually transmitted infections because the city doesn't have money to do those. So we look to extend the capacity of City Hall, and we're able to do that in part because of the modest investment that the city makes in us, which allows us to leverage it to get money from other organizations throughout the city, but has also led to over $1 million in direct investment in small business and entrepreneurship and different projects from federal sources, and the city's investment in us goes a long way, and we appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
Hello, my name is Micah Dillinger. I have to admit I feel a little awkward speaking and even just being here today because I don't actually live in Kansas City. I live up in Atchison. However, I am an actor and a filmmaker and an artist, and the art and film community bring me here to Kansas City multiple times every week, and I eat in your restaurants and shop at your stores because of the film community. And within 4 years in the film community, I've gone from an absolute beginner to having friends who have appeared in movies like The Exorcist and First Man with Ryan Gosling. And my dream, my personal long-term dream, is to build a major studio here. And the only limits we have in the film community is how much support we get. We can bring those big budget movies here. Thank you. Save the sauce.
Hello, my name is Dario Fontana. I just wanted to add my 2 cents on the issue about the giving citizens a free bus. I think that's a mistake, and the reason I said that because, well, I mean, you're gonna have a lot more people riding on the bus that pretty much doesn't need it, as opposed to the taking seats away from people who actually ride the bus to go to work, which will, in my opinion, will result in making it more unsafe for the people who ride those buses out of necessity, going from and to work every day, and also the drivers. Also, that's going to cost $8 million to do that. I think those $8 million can also be spent on, given that we have that money, onto fixing potholes. Basically, which is, I understand it's going to take some time because, well, I mean, the cities have been neglected all throughout the city for many years, so I don't expect those to be fixed in a day or two or even a year from now. But I think those, there's no point, for instance, all the people that has been speaking about bringing people from the film industry to come into Kansas City, if the cities are really in such a bad shape, I think it's going to be having people from other areas coming to our city, looking at those streets, how bad they are. I think it's bad optics, and it gives a terrible image of the city. So I just wanted to add my 2 cents on that.
Thanks. Is there anyone else?
Hello, my name's Eric Smith. I live at 5717 Warnell Road, and I have a business, Majestic Rhinos, that is based in Kansas City, and I have been doing film and video production since, well, I started volunteering at a television station when I was in 1984, and moved away, came back, and a member of SAG-AFTRA union, and worked on quite a few exciting projects in Kansas City, and the great thing about the film business is when you watch the credits at the end of the show, you see the director, you see the producer, you see the cinematographer. If you also keep watching, you also see accountants, you see caterers, you see every range of industry in the film business. That's one thing I've always told people. There's always some place for everyone in the film industry. Place for engineers, place for construction people. And I think, as was stated prior, that the investment that we put into it and the return, it'd be sad to see that go. And in fact, I would hope that we would do more to embrace and cooperate with the film community. Thank you.
Anyone else wishes to speak today, provide testimony to the city?
I just want to say I'm sorry for helping that old man lift the microphone up.
That's okay.
In jest, but also that was racist, and that stuff needs to be called out. That's not okay.
Yeah, yeah. I've had years of experience with Mr. Izzarella, and he always gets around to that point. Takes him a while, but he always gets there, and it's unfortunate. And thank you, everybody, who's come. Oh, excuse me, one more? Yes.
I actually already spoke, but I was curious if you guys didn't mind if they could finish reading that letter from that producer that brought Queer Eye and all those other.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize that the letter went unfinished.
What I might ask, could you send it to us too? And if the easiest way, my email address is mayorq@kcmo.org. You can all send me emails. I'll make sure it gets around to the full council.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. I think that may be today the best way to take care of that is send it to us so we all have it. Someone else who wishes to speak?
Louise Jones. I live on the corner of Indiana and Vivian Road. I would just like to encourage all of Kansas City to support getting Buck O'Neill into the Hall of Fame.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Anyone else? If not, I'm going to ask my colleagues. First of all, we appreciate you all coming out today. It's very important for us to hear what you have to say. It actually does have an impact. That doesn't mean that everything that's said here today is going to occur exactly the way you hope it will, but I think we all have a better understanding, particularly of the importance of the film industry to our community, and we want to thank you all for providing that to us. Well, yes, and the arts. And so I guess I would just say now, whether the mayor or any of my colleagues have any particular comments they want to make, I would open them for this time. Otherwise, we'll stand adjourned. Anyone have any particular comments they want to make? If not, well, thank you all for coming out. We really appreciate it. This is a beautiful. Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry, Teresa.
I just wanted to, since I wasn't here in the beginning.
Yeah, your mic is.
Can you hear me now?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
No. Here, use the one that's on.
Okay. I just want to thank you all for coming out this morning. I'm sorry I was late. It's so good to see this many people from, and I know a majority of you, I think, are from the Northland because I recognize a lot of faces. I've been in this community for 50-plus years, raised my family here, and now onto the second generation of grandkids here. We got your message this morning on a number of issues, particularly the film industry and the arts. So thanks again for being here. I know it's not the best place to be on a Saturday morning, but we're glad you came out. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
yes,
and
yes.
one final thing I did want to say, Councilwoman Boo, which is the representative at large from the 6th District, we had actually scheduled earlier this hearing to be on a different day, and she had made other commitments, so she is not with us today, not because she doesn't want to do, but because of the change in schedule of when this hearing was held. So again, if none of my other colleagues have anything to say, we just want to thank you for coming out. This is a beautiful day, and let's all go out and enjoy it. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know where he is. He didn't say anything to me, so.